So our next task is to make click here blink, and if we go ahead and run our program, you can see we have the title and we have click here at the bottom. But if you ever played any old school Nintendo game, this always says this always blinks, and so we want that same effect for this game here. And so how does that go? Well, the reason why the click here is blitted on the screen is because of this command on line 73. So we want this to happen every half second. So if we are thinking that in milliseconds, for this amount of time we want that blit to happen, and then for this amount of time we don't want it to happen. And then in the following second, for this amount of time, we want that blit to execute. And for the second half of the second, we don't want it to execute, right? So that's how we're going to get something blinking. And now we need to program it. So we need to have a conditional statement in here. Let's see, where is it? I think I might have erased something. Okay, there we go. So we need to have a conditional statement around this one command. So I'm going to say if, and then we have this cool Pygame function, this method, pygame.time.getTicks, and that returns the time in military time in milliseconds. So if you print this out, it's just going to be some big number. And then what we need to do is we need to mod that guy by 1,000, so that we're only dealing with numbers between 0 and 1,000. And we say if that number is less than 500. Okay. So I guess it might be helpful if we like printed this out, just so you could see what it's actually doing. And maybe I could just like get rid of this. So then we'll print pygame getTicks, and again, what that's doing is it gets the military time in milliseconds. So you can see here, right? Oh, I guess it doesn't get military time. I guess it gets, does it get military time? No, it starts at 500, right? Yeah, I believe it starts at 500, and it gets the time in milliseconds starting from that point at 500 milliseconds. So either way, this is going to give us a method of telling what time it is. So if we replace that with this conditional statement, this modding by 1,000 is going to ensure that these numbers that we're dealing with are going to be between 0 and 1,000. So it'll be 0 to 500, and then it'll be 500 and 1,000, and then once it goes above that, it'll start back at 0 to 500, and then 500 to 1,000. And then back and back and back and back and back and over again, right? So let's see. Yeah. So then what this condition is saying is if we're in the first half second of that second, right? So for the first second the game is running, this would be true for the first half of that second. And then for the second second that the game is running, this will be true for the first half second. And for the third second, it'll be true for the first half second, and so on. So in English, what we're saying here is blit the subtitle if we're in the first half second of that second, right? So then if we run that, we can see now it blinks, right? But there's a small problem here. Let's see, is there a small problem? No, I think it's good, right? So yeah, that's about it. So we got it blinking and we're ready to go.